I married the steady brother and kept texting the storm. At our wedding, Ethan, the man I married, stood up to toast me with a hand that didn't shake. His older brother, Jude, clinked a glass 2 seats down and watched me like we were sharing a punchline nobody else got. If you've never been looked at by a man who knows your history with him and your vows to someone else, count yourself lucky. It's a spotlight that feels like a secret. Jude and I were the definition of almost. We dated for 6 months when I was 26 and convinced that chemistry meant compatibility. He was beautiful and terrible for me. Late to everything, certain of nothing, always saying, "Let's just live." Like plans were taxes. We broke up in a parking lot after a fight about nothing that was really about everything, and I walked away so proud of my spine that I didn't notice my heart dragging behind me like a shoelace. Ethan entered like a quiet fix. Same family, different ecosystem. He listened without interrupting. He showed up 5 minutes early with the right cables. The first time my car battery died, he didn't make a speech about responsibility. He said, "Pop the hood," and taught me the order for the clamps. He put me in the world like a person who could be trusted to keep it from wobbling. When he proposed, he did it at home with takeout, and a joke about how our love language is sharing fries. I said yes to safety and thought that meant I'd already done all my growing. Jude texted the month before the wedding. "Can we have coffee?" Closure. I said no 3 times and then said yes because closure is a lottery ticket we keep buying even after we finally learn about odds. We met at a coffee shop that tries too hard. He wore the same leather jacket, the one that smells like nights you can't screenshot. He said, "You were my what if," and I heard violins that weren't there. He said, "I'm not trying to ruin anything," which is what people say when they are already cracking the door with their shoulder. He said, "If you ever feel like you married the wrong brother," and let it trail off, which is worse than finishing the sentence. I told myself it was just a conversation. He touched my wrist and my logic left the building. So I did the worst thing. I married Ethan anyway, and I kept Jude on my phone like an emergency exit. It started as texts, turned into accidental run-ins at family barbecues, and then into "we need to put this to bed," which is a lie that ends in a hotel room key card. I won't waste your time with the timeline of rationalizations. You've heard them all. I needed closure. He started it. It was only once. It was technically before the vows. It was after the vows but didn't mean anything. It meant something but not what you think. I told myself Jude was manipulative. He is, in a charming way people forgive. And that made my part smaller. It didn't. Ethan found out the way good men who pay attention find out. Quietly, with receipts. Literally. He was exporting our monthly budget from the joint credit card, left brain romance, and asked, "Did you buy gas on the west side last Thursday?" I said no because I hadn't. He tilted the laptop so I could see a charge from a motel I didn't recognize. We share an Apple Card. The card is on my phone. The phone pays when you hold it near a reader. There are 1,000 ways to be sloppy. I picked the one that fits in your palm. He closed the laptop. "I'm going to ask you one time," he said, hands flat on the counter like he was steadying a bridge. "Is there anything going on between you and Jude right now? There are questions you don't answer with an essay." "Yes," I said. Then the truth fell out in graceless pieces. He didn't throw anything. He didn't go find Jude. He didn't make me perform my shame for an audience. He inhaled, exhaled, and said okay. Then he went into the guest room and slept with the light on, like a man in a place he doesn't trust. The next morning, there was a 4-line email in my inbox at 6:11 a.m. Subject: Separation Logistics. Effective today, we communicate in writing. I'll contact a mediator. You'll get the details. I'm not engaging with Jude. This is between you and me. Please tell my parents yourself. It's your story to own. He took his coffee to the porch and watched the neighborhood wake up. I sat inside, holding a mug I didn't drink, and tried to decide if there was a version of this where a big speech would fix it. There wasn't. Ethan had pivoted into a mode I'd only ever seen when he was fixing something that mattered. Pick the tool, cut clean, sand carefully, seal your work. I texted Jude something I thought sounded decisive, and ended up sounding pathetic. He knows. We have to be done. He replied instantly. He'll get over it. He always does. You and me are the story. We and story. 2 words that should require licenses. Ethan didn't tell his brother. He told me to. You lit the match, he said. You don't get to outsource the explanation. So I drove to Jude's place like a person practicing adulting in a mirror and said, it's over, like that sentence was a tool. He laughed in that tight, broken way of someone who believes his charisma is a contract and said, you'll call. I didn't. For a week. My mother-in-law called after I told her. She cried and told me she loved me and that God forgives, and then she hung up and called Ethan and told him he didn't have to forgive. That's what love looks like from mothers who understand 2 things at once. His father texted me the next day, I will always be polite to you. Please respect my home by not attending Sunday dinners for a while. Respect. Polite. Words that mean you detonated my family but the kids still need to eat. Jude sent me a photo of us from 3 years ago at a fair. My hair is blown into my eyes and he's half kissing, half laughing like the world is clapping for him. This is us, he wrote. I stared until the colors looked like static and replied, no, this is you. I'm married and I broke it. He's being kinder to me than I deserve. Leave me alone. He didn't. Of course he didn't. He showed up at my gym. He DM'd me on a burner account. He left a note under my wiper that said, you don't want boring. He is the kind of person who believes persistence is romance. I blocked him and told Ethan. He forwarded the messages to the mediator and said, we'll add a no-contact paragraph if needed, like this was still a project he could keep tidy. The mediation was beige walls and bottled water, and a woman with a calm voice who has seen every version of our disaster. We did the inventory that makes you feel like you're itemizing a house you burned down. Who keeps the car? Me, I needed it for work. Who keeps the dog? Him, he had her before we met. Who keeps the house? Him, premarital asset. I get my contributions back. The mediator explained reimbursement like she was reading an IKEA manual for feelings. No alimony, similar incomes, clean break. He had already opened a solo account for his paycheck and separated his 401k contributions, not because he was vindictive, but because he wanted the math protected from whatever the next week looked like. There's a world where the guy wins, means the guy shouts, humiliates, takes a bat to the other guy's car. Ethan won by refusing to make a museum exhibit out of my worst choices. He told his parents, please don't break with Jude for me. Your sons are still your sons. He told our mutual friends, we're divorcing. I won't be sharing details. Please don't make me choose between you. He refused to be the main character in the feedback loops I wanted to distract myself with. I finally blocked Jude everywhere and meant it. Not because Ethan told me to. He didn't. Because I couldn't stand how cheap I felt in rooms I used to respect when I knew I was a walking cliff. I wrote Jude a last message in notes that I never sent, because I learned late that not sending is sometimes the most honest thing. You are a fire I kept walking into. That's on me. I'm done burning. When Ethan came by for the last pickup, he stood on the porch and asked if there was anything else I needed to say that belonged in the legal record. He speaks like that now out loud. It's not cruelty. It's a brace. I'm sorry for making you responsible for my boredom, I said. He nodded. I hope you make a life that isn't, he said. Not a curse. Not a prayer. Just a sentence a decent man can live with. People ask me. My sister, my hairdresser, strangers who pretend to be gentle. If Jude and I are together now. We aren't. He blocked me after I failed to be exciting on his schedule. Of course he did. Storms get bored when there's no debris to throw around. Do I think Ethan still loves me? In the way that love is a habit, yes. He still puts his blinker on 2 blocks before he turns. He still texts the HOA trash schedule to the group chat like a neighbor with a clipboard. He will always be the man who taught me the order of jumper cables. He will never be my husband again. That's the win. He kept himself. He didn't let my chaos turn him into a counter-chaos. He stayed Ethan all the way out the door. Here's the part one promised myself I'd tell the truth about, because I'm sick of the version where I pretend I'm the only victim in a story I wrote. I like steady now. I shop for boring. I want men who make lists and keep promises and prefer receipts over adrenaline. I had that. I lit a match anyway, convinced that warmth meant flame. The man I married put the fire out without burning the house down. Then he left because the smoke doesn't belong in his lungs. If you're looking for a villain, I'm right here. Jude is a grown man who could have chosen the door too, and he didn't. That's on him. But I walked through the middle of two brothers and told myself the universe needed my drama. It didn't. Ethan didn't. He picked dignity, and he got to keep it. The last time I saw him, he was getting coffee with a woman who looked like she owned a toolbox and a passport. He saw me, smiled, and lifted his cup a half-inch. Not an invitation. A recognition. Then he turned back to his life, which is the point of living it. I paid the mediator's second invoice on time. I kept the car. I changed my number. I stopped telling myself that closure comes from coffee. Sometimes it comes from a signature and a key on a hook. And if I end up with someone who shows up 5 minutes early with the right cables, I'll know what I'm looking at this time. I won't mistake steady for boring or kindness for weakness. I won't go looking for thunder when I already have a house. He won. Quietly. Completely. Without ruining me. That's the part that keeps me from rewriting this as a tragedy. The man I hurt refused to become the next one.